Hello everybody, welcome to another EverQuest video. Today we're going to be diving back into EQ Sage, my web-based tool, editor, and general explorer for EverQuest and all things EQ related. So we're just going to dive in and get started. So today I'm going to be focused mainly on the model viewer, formerly known as the model exporter, and kind of what I'm calling a version 2, a completely new version. In the meantime, there's been a lot of general UI upgrades and other things going along in Sage as well, and I've been working recently on the zone builder for exporting to S3D recently. That's coming along nicely, and I'll probably be putting a video together about some of the more technical parts of that, like creating a binary space partition tree, which I thought was really interesting. It was a lot of fun. But for now, I kind of pivoted for a little while and been working on something I've been meaning to do for a long time, just because it's really been lacking, I think, for the potential it had, which was the model viewer. So what I'm going to do today is just kind of dive in from a fresh start. Right here, I'm going to post links to the sites. There's a couple different ways to access Sage. There's the direct link, which is up here, eqsage.versal.app, and it's also accessible through Spire as well, which is the go-to editor for database editing, and it's embedded within the site there. So you can use that, it'll hook up to your database. And now by default, the site, even directly here, is going to be hooked up to the database, the read-only database from Spire. So we're going to see that kind of in action here in a little bit too. So I'm just going to dive right into Model Viewer here. This is the landing page, and typically people start by jumping into a zone, but today we're going into Model Viewer here. And we don't have any models yet because I'm assuming this is the first time I've loaded in, and I haven't really done anything yet. The first thing it actually wants me to do is link an EverQuest directory, but I've covered that in videos before. You just drag and drop an EQ directory and you're ready to go. So right when I jump in here, and always looking for feedback on this kind of stuff too, right off the bat there's a little notification that I can process something because there's really nothing to do right here. So the first thing I want to do is open this dialog here. Now there's a series of little tooltips, little kind of hints for what all these things do along the way. I'll just kind of go over them here as well. The first button here processes the global models, and this is stuff from global CHR, and these are all the PC models, NPC models, and everything. Not all of them, but most of them, the global ones that we are familiar with for all the PC characters at least. So I'm going to go ahead and start doing this right now. And what it does is it reads the files from the system, the S3D files, and it pulls them in and turns them into a format that I can use in the web, which is a binary GLTF, it's GLB format, as well as converting all the textures to PNG as well, just because it's a little bit easier to work with from the BMP and DDS that they're normally stored in EverQuest. So right now it's pulling all of them out, it's taking all the animation information and saving that in, because EverQuest did some fancy stuff with like using, say, elf animations across a lot of different of the models right there to save space. It's pretty smart for back in the day. The second one is processing global equipment. These are all the item files, so all the item models like Worm Slayer or Crested Mistmore Shield or something, all those are packed into different item files, gequip. S3D files in the EQ directory. So this is reading all those right here and processing all of them and spitting them out into model formats that can be used later. So you really only have to do this once unless you update your files in your EQ directory, which might be a reason to do that in the future, but generally people would only have to do this one time. So you process the first one, process the second one. Important about the second one too, that's where the Velius armor textures are stored. So doing both of these is kind of a prerequisite for getting the most out of the model viewer, I will say that. I was thinking maybe it would make sense just to do that right off the bat when we load in here, not even offer it as an option. It's like not really worth coming in here without any models anyway. But another part of this as well is an individual zone processor. So a lot of the models are split up across different zones in the EverQuest directory. Like if I wanted to target vampires specifically, I would have to know that they're in the Mistmore S3D zone, so I'd pull that out right here. So if you're trying to go digging for certain models, you might have to figure out where they are first and then process them and find them. So I've gone over a lot of this before because there was a V1 of this that's been out for a while, but this is the V2 right here. There's a new UI, and there's a lot more options too. I'm going to go over those here in just a sec. So right now we can swap between PC, NPC, objects, and items. I'm going to be focusing mainly on PC today, because that's where most of the changes and the enhancements have been put in here. So one of the first things that we have is a potential background. So these are between a couple different versions of the character select. The default one, I think this is maybe even more recent, but I'm targeting the ROF2 version of EQ, which is a little bit different than what people would see today on live, for example. But at one point there was a load model that included different areas for different classes. So here are all the different classes that we can choose from and check out right here. And now that I've gone through and processed all those global files as well, I can just start kind of piecing through here and looking at all the different models. And I'm going to find one and just kind of stick to it. Let's go with human. I'll make it easy. So there's a couple different options here for randomizing. This is for randomizing the animation, just like as if you were in character select, and then rotating as well. So that just kind of simulates the character select, or if you want, you can select any kind of animation and use that kind of piecewise, go through to any single frame too. And this is going to be useful here in a little bit when I get into the options over here for exporting as well, to be able to hone in on a frame. For now, I'm just going to let this go and randomize it too. So one of the things you can start out with here is a name. So I'm going to name my guy the dude. And you can choose their face as well. And these faces look kind of strange in the actual format, so I tried to make them not look super weird, but I mean, I'm sure most people are familiar with exactly what these look like after staring at them for 25 years and seeing the same thing over and over again. So yeah, we can swap out the face right here. And the equipment, I tried to make this as intuitive as possible. There's a bunch of different ways to approach this one, but what I went with was just searching from a database. So this is hooked up to the Spire database right now. It could be hooked up to a custom database if I wanted it to be hooked up to my own version, but I think most people using this or checking it out, they're just going to be interfacing with the read-only Spire database, which is the PEQ public database, and probably has inconsistencies where people think something might look like something or an item should exist. But I think for all intents and purposes, it has enough of the items in there that people, are going to be able to get what they want out of this right here, hopefully. So it has an item search, which is doing a database query and pulling back all the results for all the different items here, and tries to be a little bit smart based on the slot, but doesn't do anything like, oh, can a human actually wear this or anything? So you're just going to have to play around with it. And this is really only a guideline for what things look like initially too, because once we load stuff in right here, we can actually start doing things like changing the tint of these and really kind of customize whatever we're loading in here as well. So the same goes for swords as well. Got a shield in here. Alright, so I've kind of decked out my dude right here, and this is all just kind of visual and everything. Like I said, just using it for reference for what the initial texture, icon, and everything is going to look like right here. So if I want to go further and kind of see what else I can do in terms of saving this or loading up a previous save, we can open up our profiles and we can save our current one right here. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then we can look at other ones. These are ones I've saved already in the past, and they just save into your EQ Sage folder. And I can click that one and load right back in, and I got that one ready to go, and we can just kind of swap back and forth very quickly. just for a little bit of saving some time and not having to worry about remembering exactly what we had assigned for textures or whatever else. So we just have those. We can actually share them too, because they're sitting in the EQStage directory. They're just JSON files that we can kind of share between anybody else who's using the app. They can throw them in the directory. One of the cool things someone had an idea was to be able to link with Magelo too. Now Magelo has been around for whatever the last 20-25 years, and it's a pretty ancient website. They didn't have a public-facing API or anything, but I did the work to be able to get the data, scrape it basically, and we can do things as easily as just entering a Magelo ID right now and getting the result. So there's one just kind of pre-filled right here, and we can just load in right there. I just want to check this out as a proof of concept. I'm here on Magelo, and I'm going to pop in here, copy one of these profile IDs. That's where you grab it from the top. Search for that, and that's the character right there. Looks like they got a lot of Defiant stuff, of course. And bam, there they are. Now this doesn't take into consideration the race or anything like that, because you can load in the profile to whatever model you want to have right here. It's not that smart, or it's intentionally that smart. I don't know how to put it. But yeah, so you can load in Fuhrer to a dark elf or a half elf or something. It's not going to say, oh, you're human right away and swap you to that. I don't know if that's the best thing, but that's what it does right now, because it's the easiest thing to do. So going down the other options that we have right here, there's a couple different settings as well. I'm going to pop back into the default, or I mean none is fine too. Just for fun, there's a couple different types of backgrounds here if we want to, hang out with a nighttime background and just see that character kind of spinning in the free-floating world. That's kind of up to you, whatever floats your boat for just hanging out and checking things out in the app. There was one really interesting use case that someone brought up where they wanted to be able to take their character right here and have a background that they had their streaming software pick out a certain color key right here and match against that, and use it like a green screen basically, and then just have their character kind of hanging out here and floating on top while they were streaming or doing whatever else too. Kind of brings me down to my next feature right here, which is this picture-in-picture, and this right here is a streaming. I'm going to go ahead and get something real back up here. And you can change your nameplate color and the rotate speed here as well. So this is a stream. I'm sure everybody has seen this somewhere from Netflix or Facebook or whatever else. It's going to sit on top basically, no matter where you are. So I can go to, hang out in my favorite websites, my GitHub, and see my character hang out there at the same time. That's where that person who had been doing that streaming thing kind of did some tricks to make their character just kind of floating on the screen, which I thought was really neat. I think that's pretty cool. If there's ever a tutorial video for that, I'll edit and link to that here as well. So we have had export in the past, but one of the upgrades here as well is a couple different formats. Some people had reached out and wanted some different formats for Tailspire, and now we also support FBX exporting here as well. And we can also choose our level of image compression, which could make a big difference if we're exporting some models with some decent number of textures in there, where WebP might be the best way to do that. Usually PNG is just the default. They're honestly pretty big, so I don't know how big of a concern that is for anybody, but at least just for a proof of concept right now, I'm going to go ahead and turn off this randomize, and let's see, pop into, okay, I'm going to get this frame right here, and I'm going to export without animations, and it's just going to be a still frame right there. And I'm going to go in here and just look at a GLTF viewer, and I'm going to throw that on. And we have our model right there. And I could have done that with animations as well and pulled it into Blender. or used it anywhere else that you can consume GLB with animations, and Unreal and Unity are a good go. So yeah, a lot of this update was a kind of a facelift to make things look nicer, feel nicer, kind of improve the overall experience of using this, and also get in some features that just kind of made sense. I've been spending a lot of time polishing Sage. It's kind of just like brick by brick becoming, for me, this is kind of what I want to use. So I'm building it out as I would like to do this or spend my time, or for some utility purpose. This is more just kind of like, it's cool. But yeah, that's also really driven by people's ideas that they come to me with. So a lot, like half this stuff is stuff that I probably never would have thought on my own. So definitely always open to ideas, and there's a good chance if you have a good idea, I'll probably put it in usually pretty quick too, because I like a challenge. But that about does it for the model viewer here. You've got your, I mean, I could go through all this right here, but I kind of want to leave a little behind the curtain for everybody to figure out. Like, we got our robes over here, and we can do different robes with different textures and still be able to do the other visible texture slots right there as well. So there's a lot to discover here. I think you can spend some time doing this, come up with some cool things, and yeah, have some fun. I just kind of hang out and play around with this too, and discover where all the different models are. And yeah, hope to hear any feedback, and hope this tool is fun to use, if nothing else. I don't think it's supposed to be too much of anything other than just an enjoyable tool. But there obviously is some utility in export and everything too. But I hope people get some use out of it. And yeah, looking forward to hearing feedback in the comments. All right, appreciate it, guys.